Everybody Hates Church. We are super excited to be here live at the Heights for this episode of Everybody Hates Church.
They seem excited.
They excited, bro. It's here. We are here. This episode is called "The Music Industry Hates Church," and so we got a great show that is going to be incredible. We got Aaron Spears, international drummer sensation, Aaron Spears for this episode. And I'm super excited to jump in. I got my producer Dion is in the house.
Always fun. Yeah.
Man, Dion, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I just want to know how much he paid y'all to clap that loud. Everybody
Nah,
like
bro,
$1.
that's all
I feel
genuine.
like they paid everybody to do that. That was
all
really
genuine.
good.
No.
I feel like they've done this before. How many of these guys you've been to? Okay. Yeah. So it's funny that this is the title or the topic for this one because I don't know if you guys anybody heard of Dante Bowe?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, okay, good. Is that okay? So I'm a little scared. Maybe some fans in here. So apparently he just came out that he's going to be doing more mainstream music, which is good for him.
Sure.
But I thought it was interesting his exit. For some of you who do not know, he exited or parted ways with Maverick City Music. And a lot of people have a feeling about whether it was an overreaction or not. So I felt like because of this particular topic, I wanted to see your opinion on that. If you felt like it was an overreaction or you think it was well doing, what's your thoughts on that?
Man, I think that I don't think much, honestly, because I try not to comment on other people's lives who I don't know. But but no, the reality is we as people, we as a culture, but also we know this is true of the church as well. We're just really not that good at helping people through whatever issues that they're going through. We're so quick to, we want the tea. Mm-hmm. And so if something hit the shade room and it's hot, we have commentary on it. The Bible says, if any of you be caught in a trespass, you who are spiritual, restore such a one with the spirit of humility.
Yeah.
We don't do well at that part. And it's probably because we got a whole bunch of people in church, but not a bunch of spiritual people in church. Like, for real, like, isn't that our favorite thing to say?
Yeah.
Us, especially when we're trying to get out of going to church, we say, I don't go to church, but I'm spiritual.
Sure. Right.
But the Bible says, okay, you who are spiritual should be the ones first in line to restore someone.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to call yourself spiritual, as the Bible describes spiritual, there's some work attached to that. There's some responsibility attached to that. So I don't know all the details. I heard, when something came down, Maverick City,
I'm going to read it, don't worry.
See.
I'm going to read it.
I remember the statement because Maverick City felt like they had to distance themselves from him and whatever his internet activity was, whatever the case may be. And I understand from a business perspective, okay, if this person's going to make our brand look bad, then we have to protect our brand. Yeah. At what point do we protect our people?
Yeah, that's good.
Before we protect our brand.
Yeah.
And is it and how about let's make our brand protecting people?
Wow.
Let's make our brand restoring people. Now that's not the answer to your question though. Was it an overreaction? Number one, it probably was an overreaction how church people responded to whatever, hey, look, everybody, let's pull out your iPhone. Let's look at your internet browser. But then, maybe there is an I think it's an overreaction on both sides at the end of the day but who could blame somebody for saying, well, I didn't get love here, I might as well go here. I think that's what happens in the comment section of most IG posts about church at the end of the reason why everybody hates church is people say stuff like, man, I could get this drama elsewhere.
So I think that's a good segue because I think two things can be true, right? So I'm just going to read for public consumption. So apparently a number of commentators are sticking to this public knowledge that Dante praised an artist named Bad Bunny and another artist named Lil Nas X rappers with reputations that are risque as a prompt to backlash of fans. So apparently he was on a tour bus and he was listening to Bad Bunny. At this point, I think everybody listens to Bad Bunny because he's like the number one artist in the world, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Not the people with sanctified ears.
Sanctified ears.
People with sanctified ears don't listen to Bad Bunny. So
this is the thing. So you talked about the restoration part of it, right? And I think that's important, but then where's the medium to say, okay, like who's the gatekeepers or what does that look like to you as a pastor when you hear, maybe music that your kids listen to or children that the youth listen to in your church? Do you have that same kind of conversation? Yeah,
so the problem is, absent the church, we leave such responsibility in the hands of people who never claimed such responsibility. Yep. And so who is supposed to restore Dante Bowe? Is it supposed to be Maverick City Music? Right. No, they don't claim to be a church.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, my question to most gifted, powerful, wonderful musicians is, who is your pastor?
Yeah.
It's like at the end of the day, no other entity on earth, no other entity in humanity has what the church has in its ability to disciple, cover, love, restore, hold, embrace, hold accountable with love and grace than the church. If absent church, I can't expect anybody to do that. And so, of course, Maverick City Music protects their brand because Maverick City Music is music. It's the music industry, and their job is to sell records. They're doing it very well, by the way. Their job is to sell records.
Yeah.
It's not their job to shepherd, cover, disciple, even though it's Christian music.
Yeah.
Whether it's gospel is up for debate. It's we do a lot of that stuff, because we have gatekeepers in that area as well.
You want to say some names?
No.
Okay. Just checking.
The question is, at what point in a culture that keeps saying stuff like we don't need the church.
Yeah.
This is exactly why we need the church. Yeah. This is exactly why Dante needs church. This is why we all need church, because in all the things that I do, nobody can come correct me like my pastor.
Yeah. And I think that's good, because I think the interesting part is people have this misconception because he's changing music genres that he somehow no longer is a Christian.
He done backslid.
He didn't say that, right? So I think it's important for us as a community to still view him like that until he says otherwise, right? That's still a brother in Christ.
Absolutely.
No matter the genre of music. So that's why I wanted to bring that. I kind of baited you because I knew you was going to go that way, so that's good.
We're so I can't wait to talk to Aaron Spears about this, because we and the church are so conditioned to train people to be great and then put a box around their greatness.
Yeah.
Where we'll say, you be great at this, you be great at singing, you be
Did y'all
great
take
at
offering
drumming.
already? I feel like after that, you just go ahead. Okay.
I mean,
just
it's my. I'm as guilty as anybody, right? And as a pastor, or I'm as responsible, and I should say guilty, I'm as responsible as anybody to make sure, and I had this conversation with our musicians at our church a long time ago. Like, look, I want y'all to be great, and I want your greatness to take you beyond the walls of this church. Yeah. If that doesn't happen, something, because I know how gifted you are, if that doesn't happen, something's wrong. And I don't want to be the ceiling, but we have to make a decision, and I think younger generations are getting a little bit better at this than maybe our fathers and our parents and our grandparents were, when Mahalia Jackson switches the sound of gospel music, it's a problem, or when Aretha Franklin takes her gift into the secular space, there's a problem. Or when the Clark sisters sample, or when Kirk Franklin samples Parliament Funkadelic, there's this box, and the box is not made by God. The box is made by our tradition and our comfort, but we're so good at holding folks in a box. And so who made the rule that Dante Bowe, is it the first one? Who made the rule that BB and CC could only do gospel music? Who made the rule that that Yolanda Adams or Mary could only operate, Lecrae can only operate in a certain genre, and if I'm outside that genre, then I must have backslidden or done something wrong or selling out or going after the money or whatever the case may be. And so I have nothing to say about his music because I can't say that I listened to a whole bunch of his music when he was, when he was doing contemporary Christian music. At the end of the day, where has God called you? And are you a light where God called you? That's my when Kirk Franklin posts a picture of him in the studio with Snoop Dogg, I have absolutely no problem with that. And the reason I have absolutely no problem with that is because I got a feeling that Jesus came up in that conversation at some point. And so my trust for somebody whom God entrusts in those spaces is that they're going to represent Jesus well, because who's going to care what you have to say outside of church when everything you make is for the church? Wow. And so all of those questions, I don't know. I haven't heard what Dante is going to do. Molly Music is another one that comes to mind, where Molly was and is an incredible worship leader, and then he ventured out into other spaces. And the Lord opened platforms for him. My question is, what do you do? My question is not what kind of music are you making. My question is, what are you doing with the platform God gave you? I say in Gentegration that millennials have a different perspective of this whole thing, whereas baby boomers kind of kept a clear line of delineation between sacred and secular. That didn't mean they didn't listen to the secular music; they just didn't listen to it on Sundays. Generation X was the generation that did the crossover. They mastered the crossover, making Christian versions of what they loved in the world. So it's Generation X.
It was a bad generation.
It was a great generation, because Generation X gave us Christian hip-hop. There's no cross movement without Gen X, right? And so Generation X is that generation that made the Christian clubs and the Christian go-go's. Y'all remember the Christian go-go's in D.C.? When millennials came around, all the Christian clubs closed. Because millennials think that stuff is corny.
Well, that's a whole nother podcast.
Millennials would rather take millennial Christians, I would say, would rather take their light to the actual club. And so I don't have a comment about the kind of music he makes. I have a comment about what are you going to do with the light that God gives you? What do you do with the platform that God gives you?
It's funny. Since you people who like Christian rap, apparently, there's a Christian artist by the name of Swoop, and I talked to him, and he said something that was interesting. He said there's two types of, I guess, Christian artists, if you would, or Christians that make music. He said it's those that make music for the church and those that make music from the church. And I thought that was really interesting. I thought that was a good way that we might need to have to gauge other people, right, who do genres outside of Christian music.
That's good.
So we have this segment that I like, and it's called Sound Good or Sound Word. So you ever heard like a cliche that a Christian will use all the time, but it's not really biblical, right? So we had this little segment that kind of plays with this. So you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go. Let's go.
So here's the first one.
Okay.
God never gives you more than you can handle. Sound good or good word? They seem to have an opinion.
Unfortunately, that's a sound good, and the reason why is that it's based on a scripture that is probably just read too fast, right? The scripture says that God will not put you in a place that is greater than your ability, but with the temptation, he will give you a way of escape so that you can stand. And so the idea that God won't put more on me than I can bear, first of all, I've lived too much life to know that that's not true. God often puts more on me than I can bear. And that is a reminder to me that I need God. It's that when there is too much on my, that's why Jesus says no, take my yoke upon you. but he says he's basically switch.
Yeah.
You have too much. Switch and take my yoke, because my yoke is easy. My burden is light. It's our responsibility to take that which is too heavy and give it to Jesus. But God often puts more on me than I can bear. And specifically with this particular scripture, it's about temptation. And he says, with the temptation, the temptation is not going to be there by itself.
Right.
With the temptation, every time there will be a way of escape. And the way of escape is not for you to see how strong you are. The way of escape is for you to get out, for you to run.
Fast as possible.
Run as fast as possible. God gives us the whole armor of God in Ephesians chapter 6, and never in Ephesians chapter 6 does he say fight.
Right.
Read it. No, for real. Go to your Bible and read Ephesians 6. He gave you the whole armor of God and never told you to fight. What did he tell you to do? Stand. He told you to stand.
Woo. Yeah.
And I believe that God, I believe that we, in the last episode you talk about God gives his, one of the ones in this segment was God gives his biggest trials to his strongest warriors.
He gives his, whatever the thing
whatever.
is. His strongest soldiers, whatever. And
like, nah. Your strength spiritually.
Y'all know it? Hold on. I think they know it. What is it? Who said it? Hardest battles to there we go.
Gives hardest battles to his strongest soldiers.
I know that ain't
you
true,
know what?
I know I'm weak. God didn't give me that because I was strong. Yeah, no way.
Most of the time, God didn't give it to me. I walked into it.
People be trying to puff themselves up like, oh, I must be strong. No,
the strongest thing you can ever do spiritually is submit.
Wow, come on, Doc.
The strongest thing you could ever do spiritually is bow. Yeah. The strongest thing you can ever do spiritually is give it to God and escape. Yeah. And so.
All right, so we usually do one, but I was going to, y'all want one more just for this episode? One more? One more.
Okay.
All right, so good word or sounds good.
Okay.
When God closes a door, he opens a window. It's a tough one, right? Somebody said that's good. They like, I like that.
I won't judge that one as badly.
Okay.
I would say it differently, though. I believe that when God closes a door, it's that there is an open door somewhere else. And so, I don't hate it. The reason why I would say it differently, though, is because when God opens a door, I don't have to climb. I don't have to maneuver. And so the idea that comes with him opening a window means I got to walk around the side of the house, get a ladder, climb up over and sneak into my blessing. Wow. God will never make you sneak in the back door of anything that he has created for you. And so I would say, number one, when God closes a door, praise God. Yeah. Because he sees something that you don't see.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
And, man, y'all, never miss a door God opened trying to kick down a door God closed. Wow. And that's what often happens. We're so busy trying to kick down something that God closed that we miss that God opened something else.
Can we go back and put that door up? I think I did that a few times. Just go back and put it back. Right. So, well, great. So I know we have a special guest for this. I'm super excited. Aaron Spears, I know he's going to crush it. I know you guys are going to have a great conversation.
Absolutely.
So get ready for that. That's up next, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, I'm here at Life and Legacy Counselors with my estate attorney, Miss Amy Griffin. Amy, could you tell us why it's so important for us to think generationally about our wealth?
Yes, it's about strategically planning. As the word says, that we are supposed to plan for our children's children. Mm-hmm. So as we are able to build, we're able to create greatness and opportunity for our children, our community to grow.
Amy is my estate attorney. She has helped me and my family think generationally about not just how much money we make now, but how we make sure that we protect our money and pass our money on to generations. Amy, how can we get in contact with you?
Easily go to our website at yourestateplanningattorney.com or call us at 855-574-8481.
Thank you so much for being a part of the Everybody Hates Church podcast family, and you reach out to Amy today.
We are here with the Everybody Hates Church podcast, and y'all, I am super excited. Y'all, I got here with me on episode 2 of Everybody Hates Church, your favorite musician's favorite drummer. This brother has been on every drum magazine cover you can imagine. Modern Drummer, SA Drummer, Rhythm Magazine. I used to say DMV legend, but his gift has taken him all across the world. He's not just a DMV legend. He is a worldwide legend on the drums, and somebody that man, we grew up in the same spaces, grew up together, man, and I'm blessed to call him my friend, and I'm so ecstatic that he is here to be a part of the Everybody Hates Church podcast. Y'all give it up for Aaron Spears.
Thank you. Thank you so much, man. Bobby, thank you for having me. I appreciate you making the call. Thank you, buddy.
Man, I hope you feel that love, man, because it's so genuine, man. Our area is so proud of you, man. Like we see you on TV, and we see, you know, what the places that the Lord is taking you, man, and you know, you know how church people are. Church people are like, man, I knew that. Man, I knew him when he used to play. We used to play drums over at New Vision.
Facts. Yeah.
And man, we've seen the Lord, man, just really do amazing things in your life, man, and take you everywhere. And so, man, just man, tell us, bro, just how, just reflecting on what the Lord has done, man. Just how. One thing I wanted to say is of all the Lord has done, man, you're probably one of the most humble brothers I've ever met, man, and we appreciate that so much about you.
I always just feel like, man, it's hard to be, you know, boastful or take credit for something that you didn't do. You know, I mean, yeah, I shot the shots in the gym, I practiced and stuff like that, but none of that stuff, the things that I've been able to do wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for God. So I feel like to take credit for something that he's done is it's like plagiarism. Yeah. You know, and I can't be that person. I recognize that it's him, and I can't be proud, you know, in the things that I've done just because it's bigger than me. Sure. You know? So I think that really helps me to stay humble, and my wife, whenever I get home, telling me to take the trash out, clean the dishwasher, you know, that type of stuff helps to keep me, you know,
love it.
Well, for sure.
Absolutely. Wives have the tendency of,
they
doing that,
humble
bro.
You.
They'll
like, baby, I just got finished playing in front of 30,000 people. Yeah, I know, but you didn't take the trash out. Can you make sure you?
Yes. They'll let you know that your stuff stink, man. Like, like the people watching you drum don't get close enough to smell you.
No. The air freshener is on deck. My wife is, all right, yeah. Go ahead, Bobby. I don't want to get in trouble.
So, bro, oh, man, I want to have this conversation because it's such a, we're going to get to probably the more sensitive parts of the conversation of being a musician in church and balancing being great at your craft, but also serving in ministry and what that looks like. But, man, I want to go back to, like, the Genesis, man. I remember, man, running around even before Gideon really hit. Like, I remember running around to the praise nights and all of that stuff. And so, of course, you grew up in church. Dad's a pastor. Shout out to Pastor Kenny Spears. We love your dad, man. It's not hard to see how you got your grace and your humility because your dad is the exact same way. And so church is the launch pad of what the Lord has done in your life. The drummer, God has taken you all over the world, but all that started at church. Talk about how you just got started and when you knew you was gonna play the drums and then how it kind of took off.
Well, for me, it started, you know, Kojic. You know, I grew up at the Kelsey Temple Church of God in Christ
Uh-huh.
on 1435 Park Road Northwest. That's funny. I still know the address. But I grew up there, and for me, it was just church was such a huge part of my family's life. My grandmother, my dad, my mom, like we were at church every Sunday, from the morning time to the night, from Sunday morning to the afternoon, YPWW to the broadcast, later on that evening. That's when they broadcast on 1340.
WYCB, yeah.
Shout out to Lucille Banks, Robinson Millish. I'm a product of the area, and for me, church was very much a way of life, and to be able to be touched and influenced by the music at the church. I honestly didn't know that music was going to be the vehicle that allowed me to do the things that I've been able to do. I just knew that I loved it and I enjoyed it, and it was fun. And I'm thankful for the people that were there at church that saw something in me that helped to kind of cultivate, and they encouraged me. They pushed me. They were very, very kind to me, even though I wasn't sweet. Like, music is just like anything else. There's some people that take a fast track and they're just immediately they're virtuosos and they're just incredible what they do. But then there's most people, it takes time, and you learn, and there's steps to kind of get to where you're trying to get to, and you develop over time. And I was one of those that was a developer. So I spent a lot of time sitting on the first pew of the church with my sticks in my hand, air drumming and mimicking what it was that I was seeing that was fashioned before me. So for me to be able to be in a culture where they were kind enough to push me and encourage me, even to this day, man, it's like I look back upon the lessons that I learned there at that church that have helped me tremendously.
You mentioned that, man, and of course I start smiling, and my face hurts, because what you just described is my son, Joey, who's every Sunday he's sitting on the front row. He ain't never been to children's church ever. He don't know what children's church look like, because he's on the front row mimicking the drummers. And man, I didn't think I was going to say this on camera, but publicly, man, I just want to say thank you, because you're his favorite drummer. He's been watching you since he was a kid.
I appreciate it so much.
And every time he sees you, and every time you see him, you are so gracious to him, and you are so kind and so generous. And man, I don't have the words to express how grateful I am as a father that you pour into my son that way, man.
For sure. I just think it's important. It's important. I really believe, man, that the reason that God put us here on this earth is to be able to encourage and inspire each other. It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. And I just feel like being encouraging is it's a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. Thank you for that, man. Thank you for that. And just what you pay forward is probably, in my opinion, will be probably your greatest the greatest thing you do with all the stages that you've been on.
I hope so.
Yeah.
The legacy is important.
Absolutely.
So it'll be the things that will carry on once I'm gone. The things that you do in this life will echo throughout eternity. Once you're gone, and I think it's important for those things that echo, from me, to be positive and to be encouraging and hopefully inspiring to the next generation. Absolutely,
man. Man, even as we talk about this thing, this idea of everybody hates church, man, it just occurs to me as the skeptics and the critics of church downplay the value of church, and I'll just go ahead and say the black church. And if we're honest with each other, we have a whole generation, probably 2 or 3 generations of the greatest music artists of all time, and we can thank the church for that. If there's no black church, we don't have Whitney Houston. If there's no black church, we don't have Usher. If there's no black church, we don't have Beyonce. It's what you described is how do these people know that they are great singers? They sang in church. They were in the choir. They got the solo on the 4th Sunday youth day. It's like that's where we found the greatest artists of all time. We found them in church.
Greatest artists and greatest musicians.
Absolutely.
Like, so many of our musicians come from church. Now it's to the point where the artists that are looking for musicians or looking for bands, a lot of times they look directly at the church.
Yeah.
Because the best musicians, the most well-rounded musicians, the musicians that are used to playing for people, the musicians that are used to playing along with people, they know how to respect the music. They understand different gears. They're able to support. A lot of times these artists are looking for the best of the best, and they comb Instagram or they comb YouTube or talk to different people to kind of get a feel. But it all comes from the church. It stems from here. Now the crazy thing is, I know you said, everybody hates the church, but sometimes, man, the church hates the people.
Let's get it.
It's unfortunate that, when people do step out to do these other things, to do other gigs, sometimes it's not so welcoming.
Yeah.
The church doesn't necessarily welcome that. And I say that because I remember for sure when I started playing with Usher, people some people were happy. A lot of people were happy. They were like, man, this is fantastic. This is great. Aaron, this is awesome. But then there were also people that were like, oh, man, you about to lose your life.
Oh, man.
Oh, dude, your salvation. I can't believe
man.
you. So instead of being encouraging.
Especially in Pentecostal circles, the holiness circles, where,
insteed of being
that secular music, that devil music.
It's devil music.
Yeah.
So instead of being encouraging and just being positive in that sense, and being prayerful in that sense, and empowering. Yeah. Even looking at it from the standpoint of, somewhat missionary work. Go ye therefore teach all nations. It's kind of I'm not necessarily preaching because that's not my thing, but the life that I live has to reflect, who it is that I am, and hopefully that light that I have will be able to draw people to Him. But the church didn't necessarily see it that way. It was a bit of a struggle,
man,
for a while. Yeah. Until you get to certain platforms, like you meet Oprah, and it's like, oh God, yes, I knew it. Yeah, he's good. Yes.
Look what the Lord done. You got to meet Oprah.
It's crazy, but it's true.
So tell me about you. So you are hitting exactly where I wanted to go, man. Thank you, because of course. So take us through that journey. So Gideon Band. So start out with Gideon Band. Yeah. Shout out to DMV's own Gideon Band. If you're not in the gospel music like that, you're not familiar with Gideon Band, just figure it out. Check yourself and go to iTunes. If you ever heard that song Your Majesty and you thought it was Bishop T.D. Jakes, it ain't. That is a Gideon Band original written by one of the founding men, Warren Jones, one of the founding members of Gideon Band, man. And so man, Gideon Band. When Gideon hit, and we realized it wasn't just a DMV thing, like it was something, and there was a couple of songs. There was a couple songs on that CD, man, where they just kind of let you go, and we knew what tracks those were.
I'm very thankful for the band allowing me to be able to be expressive, and because of those expressions, it afforded me a lot of attention.
Sure.
Just that platform was really big. Again, like I said earlier about how a lot of artists, they look at church, they look at church musicians and, kind of what's hot or who's emerging and this, that, and the other. And Gideon Band was really, really hot to the point where we were traveling up and down the East Coast. We even played like GMWA, which Gospel Music Workshop of America, in Cincinnati and New Orleans. Like, we were doing a lot of traveling, and it gained a lot of attention. We had a lot of eyes on us.
Yeah.
And in those moments where people are watching, I was able to play and really be myself.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because the attention that already was on the band, just because as a band we were really different. We were kind of like Earth, Wind, and Fire, like a mint condition. Like that was our vibe, or that was our blueprint. So we already had a lot of attention on us, but in that attention and in those moments, for people to see something in me and the way that I was playing and my expression, it was a blessing.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of those things that I can't take credit for.
Right.
I wish I could say, yeah, bro, it was all me. I was killing so crazy. It's not that. It's really in those moments, like, God just decided to shine a light, like, right on me. Like, I don't know if you ever, like if we were right here in this place right now, and we're sitting here on the stage and we're talking, like, if these lights aren't working and they're not shining on us, you're really not going to be able to see us. It would be really dark. It's the same thing with my life and with my playing. The only reason why people were able to see it or to experience it or to feel it is because of the light that he's directly shining on me, So, I don't know.
So let me give you're humble, and so I'm gonna give you the other side of it because I was there. I was there. I think we were traveling to North Carolina somewhere, and it's one of these church trips.
Yeah.
And we're going to North Carolina on the church van, on the Jesus Mobile. and we're all kind of goofing off on the church van, but you got your headphones in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, so Aaron, what are you listening to? And you couldn't even explain to me what you were listening to, because it's not like you was listening to the top 40, right? It's not like you. And so I put the headphones in, and it's a drummer, and you are practicing in your head this whole and so it's the light, but God can shine light on somebody who ain't ready.
Yeah, that's true.
God can shine light on somebody who hasn't been putting in the work. God can shine light on somebody who hasn't been honing the requisite skill that God has put in. And that's something that, man, if we look at you and say, man, God can do that with anybody. Yeah, he could, except the people who ain't putting in the work. and so no, I just want to appreciate the fact that God did shine a light and has been shining a light on you, and the fact that you, when the light came on, you had put in the work. You had prepared. And
a friend of mine told me, man, he's like, one of the worst things you could do is to be in the end zone, wide open. The ball comes to you, and you drop it.
You not catch it.
You've done everything that you can do to be able to get to this moment, and you're not prepared, or you're not ready.
Absolutely.
And I never want to be that person. So I spend a lot of time listening. I spend a lot of time preparing. I spend a lot of time practicing. Just to be ready for whatever was coming.
So the door swings open.
Boom.
The MD for Usher's band sees you play, and
actually, even before he saw me, a friend of mine, Gerald Hayward, was listening to the Gideon Band CD in his hotel room, and he was working with Mary J. Blige at the time. Usher's musical director was hanging out with them, and he was doing like maybe some program and stuff like that, and he happened to walk into Gerald's room, and Gerald had the CD on, and he asked him, "Who's that on drums? Who's playing?" He's like, "Oh, that's my friend. That's my boy Aaron from DC." He's like, "Man, do you think he'd be interested in the Usher gig?" And they asked me, all right.
Live
audience. Oh, this is great. So he asked me if I would be interested in the gig, and they called me, and initially I felt like I had gotten calls for like a lot of random things, and stuff didn't pan out. Whatever. So when this call came through, I was just kind of like, yeah, man, sure, whatever. And they asked me to make a videotape of myself playing. I did what they asked, and they selected me to be his drummer.
Man, that's
but it was
amazing.
Really, again, thank you. Again, it was like I couldn't have. There was nothing that I could have done to set that up.
Absolutely.
Again, like it's one of those moments that I just know that that's something that God did. He happened to walk into his room while the CD's playing.
Yeah. That's not a door you kick down, right? Yeah, that just happened, and God desired. That's and so with that being so clear, and I know you talked about it before, but I just want to hit it real quick. How did your family respond when you said that you was about to go on? You was about to go on tour and play the secular, secular, and then how did other believers, other Christians respond?
So my dad, Pastor Spears was like, "Man, I'm proud of you," because he knew that this is something I had prepared for. This is something I had wanted. This was something I desired. I wanted to be able to see the world. I wanted to travel. I wanted to play. I wanted this as a career. So he was extremely supportive. My mom was like, "Usher, what church is that?" She was like,
"Which Usher?"
Usher, and
where's White Gloves at?
And then I showed her a videotape of Usher performing, and she was like, "Oh no, like you don't want to play with Fred Hammond or like Kirk Franklin or one of those nice gentlemen, because she immediately saw the women, she immediately saw the man with the shirt off and the body rolls and all that, you know what I mean? So it was there. So she was not initially on board. I told her I wanted to see the world and I wanted to travel. And she recommended, maybe she'd go into the Army. That would be a great thing for you. I could see you doing that. And I had to stand up to my mom. And I had to say to her, "Mom, this ain't it. I'm sorry. This is my dream. This is what I believe it's supposed to be. I believe God brought me to this opportunity for a reason, and this is what it's going to be." And it wasn't until she came to the show and she saw what it was. She got to go backstage. She got to see, she actually started opening up doors to see if there was any scantily clad women in these rooms.
She took her oil with her. She in the back praying over everything.
Had the oil. But when she actually came to the show and she saw what it was, this is when it was the Verizon Center. She came there and she saw, how it was laid out and how everybody had a job and how everything was very well organized and it was clean. It was totally the opposite of what she thought it was going to be. And that's when her support kicked in like 1,000.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That's awesome. So you're on the road. You're a believer. You walk with Jesus. You're looking around, and you're on the road with Usher. You're on the road with Ariana Grande. You're on the road with did you play for Beyonce, or you were just on the road on the same tour?
No, she came and she did this one thing with Usher in Puerto Rico.
Gotcha, yeah.
Which was cool, but
yeah. So tell us what it's like being, because you said preaching's not my thing, but the life I live speaks for me, and just being in that space as a light in a dark space. Tell us what it's like. Tell us how the Lord grew you as a witness, and maybe even sometimes where you've been discouraged in that season.
Oh man, so for me, being there in those particular places, like I'm not down for everything.
Right.
What they say about the music world, everything being accessible, is so true. Like if it's drugs you want, it's there. If it's women or guys, I don't know, whatever you're into. That's how it is these days. But whatever it is that you're looking for, is personified.
Mm-hmm.
You can get to it if that's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I just always felt like things work better for me when I'm true to myself.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm true to myself, and I'm true to who it is that I know God has me to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that came about for me as a young man. You know, I'm thankful to my parents and my grandmother for the foundation that they gave me of being in church, because it really helped me to kind of stay close to that. Even out on the road, I would try to find churches to go to if I had a Sunday free. Like I would call up my boys and be like, yo, I'm in Chicago. Oh, man, come through. I'll come pick you up. You know, it's just that always felt like home to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So as far as that part, that part was never difficult. The hard part for me as I, you know, getting older and relationships and marriage and stuff like that, the hard part for me was just staying balanced with my family. Like that's probably the most difficult part. I think everyone gets so excited about, you know, the touring and seeing the world and, you know, all that's great, but it pales in comparison to being able to be close to the people that you love. Like my son, who I don't know where he is.
We're gonna find him.
It's tough. It's tough being away from him because now he's at the age where he's asking me,
Yeah.
Dad, how many more sleeps, man, before you get home? Like you know, I know you're working, but man, your job it sucks, bro. You know, so those things, you know, sometimes can be very difficult in this industry.
Gotcha, man. So I'm about to ask you a question that I know we're not going to be able to answer quickly, and it's for a whole nother podcast. But just real quick, because you are as you said, you coming off the road a little bit and spending some more time at home, and so kind of back in the church musician scene, and man, I know it's especially in the DMV, man, it's a very competitive space. What and you talked about how, you know, the church doesn't always treat our folks the best way. Like, you know, everybody hates church, and sometimes for good reason, right? What could we do better as a church to take good care of our musicians?
Communication.
Yeah.
Is the first thing that I think of. You know, I know sometimes we live in these spaces where you know, all the information is not for everybody. You know, you kind of keep certain things to yourself. You kind of hold on to things just because you feel like that's the protocol. But for musicians, like we are people as well, and we have lives and we have schedules, and it's kind of difficult for us to just kind of drop everything and you know, at the drop of a hat, you know, to be able to support the way that we want to support if we don't have the proper information and communication. Like for me, it's very important to spend quality time with my son. Yeah. And to spend quality time with my wife. Yeah. And it's difficult to do that if I'm not able to properly plan my week out. You know, so, you know, Monday through Thursday, you know, I haven't got any communication as far as what's happening, what's going on. But then Thursday night, all of a sudden, you know, I got to drop everything to learn music for Sunday morning. Then that means that my family suffers. I have to sacrifice my time with them, you know, because we've planned something on Friday night, but now I got to say, you know what, babe, I actually got to learn this music because I feel such a strong commitment to be excellent and to be great, especially if that's what God deserves. If he deserves greatness and he deserves excellence, I have to give that to him. Then something is going to suffer. I can't juggle everything. Right. It's not possible. But if communication is up front and it's on point and it's what it's supposed to be, then I can properly plan to make sure that I'm doing everything that I need to do. That's and good. My family's not going to suffer. That's good. Because really, my first ministry is not the church. If I have to choose between the church or my family, I'm going to choose my family. As much as I love the church, appreciate that. As much as I love the church, and as much as, you know, the church has been an extreme blessing to me, it's, hey, my guy.
We found him. I told you we was gonna find him.
Welcome back. But as much as you know, like I said, the church is so important, you know, and doing his work is extremely important to me. But if I have to choose between the two, I'm going to choose my family.
Yeah.
So church is going to take a hit.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't. You know, so if we do all things well,
Mm-hmm.
you know, here we are, you know, we communicate and we speak and, you know, we speak in other tongues and, you know, all of that, then we should be able to be on point and communicate and hit these benchmarks and talk in ways that we can effectively move forward.
Yeah, because, I mean, in a perfect world, you shouldn't have to choose. In a perfect world, there's alignment where your ministry to the church doesn't put you in conflict with your family, but it puts you in alignment with your family. And if we could, you know, that's not an easy thing to figure out, but it's something that we really got to.
Unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, we don't have perfect communication, and we have a lot of conflict where things rub like that.
Sure.
And in those moments, like you try to do the best that you can and be as graceful and supportive as possible, because we are a team. And nobody's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't put the blame on anybody. You can't blame somebody for not putting the information in planning center. You can't do that. That's not fair. It's really not. It's not fair to them, because honestly, they also have a family.
Absolutely.
So there are things that they're going through, and you never know the things that are dumped on them at the last minute. But the cool thing would be, in those moments of dumping, you know, sometimes someone might just say, "Hey, man, keeping it 100, there's been a lot that's going on. Just bear with me.
Yeah.
Hang tight. I got you."
Yeah.
Because then that makes the team feel like we're a team, and I'm not just taking orders. I'm actually a part of a team.
Sure.
You know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
Absolutely. Can y'all say thank you to Aaron Spears? What a blessing. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Everybody Hates Church. Please, if you're enjoying it, make sure that you click subscribe and subscribe so that you never miss an episode of Everybody Hates Church. Find us on Instagram and all on social media as well, at Dr. B. Manning, at A. Spears, and at Everybody Hates Church. We look forward to seeing you next time as we come together for Everybody Hates Church. See you next time.